Yeah, welcome everyone. Hello. So thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar. My name is Ben and I'm the market manager at Sourcing Force. So today we are introducing our eProcurement suite presented by Oliver, Odino, and myself. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. And I'll bring them up after the presentation and we'll take some time to answer them. So now, without further ado, we're going to kick it off with a brief introduction of the presenters and then we'll get right into it. So I'm Ben Constanti. I handle the North American market at Sourcing Force, as I said. I have 9 years experience digitizing organizations and information systems. And Sourcing Force is also one of the co-founder of the Toronto Procurement Network, created in late 2018. We're about 500 people now. We have procurement and supply chain experts from Toronto, and we're going to be hosting webinars and events in downtown Toronto throughout the year. So if you want to check it out, you can find it directly on LinkedIn, and you're very welcome to join if you will. And yeah, that's it. So now I will turn it over to Oliver, and we'll start the presentation.
Perfect. So yes, my name is Oliver. So I'm the founder of Sourcing Force. I created Sourcing Force 6 years ago, but just previously I worked from some big companies like General Electric, United Technologies, and Group SEB. Mainly related to procurement because I was in charge of all professional services in the procurement area worldwide. So I'm really an expert in mainly indirect procurement. And 6 years ago, I started Sourcing Force to make sure that we can offer a very easy to use e-procurement solution. So we're going to show you how it works, but our objective is really to simplify and make sure that every company can afford to a source-to-pay solutions. So very briefly, I can present to you what is Sourcing Force. So it's now 6 years ago I created Sourcing Force, mainly in France. Now we are based also in Switzerland, Tunisia, and China. And so we just started our business in Canada last year. Ben just joined us 2 months ago now. Really, we'd like to implement Sourcing Force in all the North America companies. Actually, this is mainly 20 employees working in France, Tunisia, and Canada. Our turnover is above $4 million with a very huge growth because we quite double our turnover every year. And internationalization is very important to us. We do not provide only source-to-pay solutions. We could also give some consultancy missions or training missions in all procurement areas. And we do also some outsourcing, procurement outsourcing, like a BPO for what we call the spot buy, meaning all the small expenses of companies. So making sure that procurement people within teams are really efficient on the most valuable projects. So let's start with just a brief introduction. If you have any question, do not hesitate to turn on your microphone or to write it on your chat. I'll let Benoit, present to you the subject of today, so how we can implement a source-to-pay solution.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, what's procure to pay? So today we're going to focus on this green part here, procure to pay. So first off, I'll give you a quick definition of source to pay. So source to pay, or S2P, is the entire end-to-end process involved in procurement. It spans every process, right from source to contract to procure to pay. Though we're not going to cover them all today, we're going to focus on this green part, as I said, procure to pay. So I'll give you a definition for it as well. Procure to pay, also known as P2P, is the process in which businesses inquire, request, receive and then pay for goods and services. So it's a specific subdivision of the procurement process. It's not a technology, though their software is expressly designed to handle the entire procure-to-pay process, and Sourcing Force is one of them. So considering the complexity of the P2P process in most companies, we have identified the 5 most common problems we're encountering, empirically speaking. So the first of them is a poor visibility on contracts. So meaning that you can't fully exploit the value of the contract arrangements. The second one is you have no control. I mean, companies have no control over purchasing process costs, which impact the budget per se. Inability to identify saving opportunities. No risk assessment, often leading to non-compliance that can really affect your business legally. And tedious and heavy paperwork for auction processes. So with all that said now, Oliver is going to give you an insightful overview of the procure-to-pay process for a better understanding of tracking, control, and visibility. So yeah, whenever.
Yeah. So as we explained, we Sourcing Force is a full source-to-pay solutions, meaning there is several modules from the sourcing to all the payment and invoicing and everything inside your process. So actually, we will focus only on the procurement part, meaning all the ordering parts and invoicing parts. So meaning how you can get a good control over your spend and purchase orders. So first of all, your main objective for that part of the procure-to-pay process is to make sure that you get a good control over your budgets. So using a digitalizations, you can really control every budget on your company, and you can make sure also about the compliance of your processes. Make sure that you do not use paperwork or just make sure that you do not collect only regularizations of orders, but you can really enforce your processes online and make sure that everyone can use it. And at the end of the course, when you get all your process that is really compliant, you can get an on-time and real-time basis all your spend analysis, meaning that you collect everything on a real-time basis so you can react directly about all litigations and all spend that goes to the wrong suppliers. So for that, you can give access to all your employees, and depending the role of all your employees, you can affect some permissions. For example, when you start a procure-to-pay solution, generally you start by giving access to your employees. Make sure that all your employees are able to write a request, a purchase request, either on online catalogs or directly filling a form stating that they are like to buy a product or services. So it's very simple for them. They just need a login and password. They fill a single form that you can create by yourself if you need some specific fields. You can give them also access to some online catalogs, and we handle hosted catalogs and punch-out catalogs. So it's very easy to use. For example, we can connect Amazon Business to Sourcing Force, or all your, what we generally speak about the C class of the purchases is directly on a catalog onboarding, and you can give access and permission to individuals within your organization. Then once the purchase request is done, it goes through an approval process, and you can customize all your workflow depending the amount, depending the budget, depending the cost center, etc. So it goes to the correct managers directly. They receive an alert over their phone. They can go to their computer or directly validate over their phone. So it's very easy to use. They approve everything online, and once it's approved, it can go directly to the suppliers or go directly to your ERP, depending how you manage your orders. So what is very easy to use is meaning that once it's validated, your suppliers receive directly an order, which is either a PDF or an interface with their own ERP. So it's straightforward, and you make sure also that your suppliers can confirm the validity of your order. So make sure that you will receive your products on the correct time, and make sure that your suppliers is able to provide the full scope of your orders. So this is really what receivers could see online through Sourcing Force. So they can get online and on a real time all information around suppliers. Then when they receive product or services, your colleagues internally can make the reception online, and they can make any kind of receptions. It could be service reception or product receptions, it could be just partial reception, full reception, etc. And they can store every document related to the reception online on the same order. So you can make sure that on a single point, you can add every information about the orders, including the contract, including all document related to your product, or it could be also reporting from suppliers, etc. So everything is stocked in the same area, making very easy all the auditable pieces that you could make within your company. And at the end of the course, all the invoices could be integrated directly within Sourcing Force, meaning that your suppliers is able also to digitalize their invoices and just upload their invoices online within Sourcing Force to make sure that it is directly reconciliated with the orders for your account payable. So it makes sure that you have no litigation for invoices. It is the process of invoice integrations, and you make sure that you get exactly the correct invoices compared to the orders you sent to your suppliers. And you can make also, again, new approval process if you see any discrepancies between the invoices and the orders. So at the end of the process, what is very powerful for all the procurement team is to make sure that you control all the process. You make sure that your employees goes to the correct suppliers, and make sure that all validators could be their managers, it could be anyone within the organizations that see exactly what is ordered, and if it's correct, delivered on the correct time, with the correct quality, we can manage litigation, etc. online. And so as a procurement manager, it's very easy for you to make an export, to analyze your reporting directly online on a real-time basis without trying to ask your IT to give you an extract of all orders made last year. With that kind of software, you can do that alone by yourself, and a very easy process. So here are some
thanks for this complete explanation. So Sourcing Force P2P can basically cover the workflows and processes needed to convert a requisition to a delivery, an invoice, and ultimately a payment with all the necessary approvals. So we're going to give you a quick demo of Sourcing Force in a few minutes. I just give you a quick sum up of what the platform can bring to organizations. So first of all, simplicity. So it's a fully cloud-based software, user-friendly, and you can log into it from anywhere. Management, you get to customize your own dashboards. So you can see a day-to-day overview of your procurement workflows, and you can set up relevant email and mobile notifications according to your needs. Collaborative, one platform for all stakeholders. So you get a view into all supplier activity. You ensure all processes are informed with accurate supplier, accurate risk, and performance data. Compatible, most companies, around 40% or so, are pairing their accounting or ERP system with eProcurement tools to make the most of their current system, which is a great way to smooth out the integration of a new procurement solution for your business, and Sourcing Force allows you to do so. Can I get the next slide, please? Yeah. Thank you. So then again, you will increase your business productivity, strengthen compliance, have a 360 view of your spend. Collaboration will get faster and easier. You'll get accurate supplier information, assess risk, and you'll improve performance. Create approval process controls and dollar threshold for every user across different teams, departments, or even locations. So now we're going to talk about your benefits, whether you are a procurement manager or a simple user. And I turn it over to Oliver for this part.
Yeah, for that one, your benefits, I think maybe you already heard about that, but the main benefits is really to get control over your spend. Make sure that you know exactly what is spent, when it is spent, and how much they spend for each supplier. So you could manage really the supplier collaborations. And what is very important in terms of control is you can give access to your suppliers to a supplier portal. So your supplier are able to connect within Sourcing Force, see all orders from you, make sure that they also give you all information within their supplier profiles, and maybe gives you also some legal documents. It could be the statements, it could be any kind of document that makes sure that you get a good risk assessment over all your suppliers. So this is why we speak about control globally. Not only you're controlling your colleagues internally, but also make sure that you control your suppliers and make sure that your suppliers are compliant with your internal policies. Then, of course, you get also some financial benefits, meaning that you reduce a lot of time of doing any purchase request because everything is online, everything is automatized, and you make sure that everyone can fill a form without any error, without any missing informations. So the first forms is already the good one, and you don't have to make any feedbacks, any communication to make sure that everything is fine. And also regarding financials, you can get a strong reporting with every information that helps you to build your own procurement strategies and so to launch new tenders and make sure that you get all information about all your purchases internally. Then regarding the benefits for all your employees, one of the most important benefits is the time, meaning that you save a lot of time because you can provide online catalog very easy to access. They don't need to get another login or password to access to the catalog because they only need one access to go to Sourcing Force. And then it's already interconnected with all your suppliers' catalogs. And you can get also your own private catalogs. I mean, really, you can give access to your employees to only the products or services you like, they can get access. So they save times. They save also times because every process is regarding the validations, receptions, and payment of suppliers is all online. So it's very easy for them to follow up all their orders. So they have a strong visibility and a strong transparency over all their orders. And of course, you as a manager, you can see all the orders, and some of your colleagues can see only their own orders. So you can really configure all restrictions you need and all permissions to all your colleagues. And then what's very important, we put on all our modules a strong impact on the collaborations, meaning that Sourcing Force is really related to collaborations. So every time they create a transactions, they can invite their colleagues to have their feedback, for example, to validate a product. For any kind of question, they can invite their colleagues, or maybe an external consultant, or maybe a supplier, just to make sure they are online and they can get all information within only one place. And so you as a manager, you're able also to make sure that everything is filled and you can track all the history of the orders. So this is few benefits, but of course, you get a lot of other kind of benefits regarding the vision, regarding the maturity of procurement, regarding the collaboration with suppliers. You save time, you save a lot of money because you can concentrate all spend within your key suppliers. So, and also, of course, you could plug any kind of strategic sourcing modules to manage your suppliers later, meaning that you can integrate contract management, tendering systems, supplier evaluations, etc., directly linked to the procurement modules.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're going to get into the deployment phase, and it comes in 3 main steps. So we have the pre-deployment, the deployment phase, and the post-deployment phase. So let's start with the pre-deployment phase. The first key, the success, ambition. So you need to define your expectation and make them clear for yourself and your company. You also need to share your ambition with your colleagues and make sure the people concerned are open to it. You need to gauge the value of such a change by calculating your return on investment. Then your goals. You should identify realistic goals for your company, set up a timeline for every step, and evaluate your goals as you start getting more information over the course of this very first step. And resources, you will have to evaluate how many people you're going to need to manage the implementation process, and then the consequences. What will be the impact of such a change for my company? Now the deployment phase. As you can see here, we have a dozen steps. So this usually takes less than 3 months to get rolled out. So I'm going to quickly go through it. The first phase, you're going to meet with the project team and establish a description of functional specification. Then we'll be identifying each user and desired features. We'll do specific developments according to your needs and only if it's necessary. Then comes the configuration of the solution, the control of the data provided by the client. Beginning of the second phase, we set up a new meeting with the project team so we can start the integration of the data into Sourcing-Force. Then we integrate the ERP system with Sourcing-Force. Then we process some feasibility tests. We start the testing phase with restricted number of users. Afterwards, we fully implement and roll out the solution. And then comes the third stage. So it's 2 steps, 2 final steps. So communication and training. You will learn how to use the features and start communicating about it in your company. And final step, follow-up and support. The post-deployment phase. So feedback. So ask the users in the company, inside the company for feedbacks at all times. If they need other features, for example. Supervision, we're still there for you. Sourcing-Force is still there for you. So we supervise and keep an eye on everything to make sure your solution is always updated, always relevant to your day-to-day needs. And support, we also have a responsive support team that's there for you to answer your questions at any time as well. And I think now we can give you a quick demo of the solution, and then we'll be answering your questions before we wrap it up.
All right, so let me just change my screen so I can give you very a short demonstrations that you can see how it works when you are within Sourcing Force. Just I need to change the share screen. All right. Okay, I think now you can see my Chrome screen. All right.
Yeah.
So here is an example of how we manage a new purchase request. So very briefly, when you get your employees, they can only have a very simple forms. Here, for example, they can get their agencies. If you have several agencies within Canada, they can select the requester if this is an assistant. Can put a title, just a note for the validator. Set your currency. It could be any kind of currency, and we are linked directly to the change market. So every currency you select will be integrated directly with the correct exchange rate. You can manage all your delivery place, adding very easily a new delivery place if you need once more. And then here you can get every kind of access. It could be just adding a single product. It's like an item line. You can go directly to the hosted catalogs. In here, you can ask your suppliers to give you all their products, and we can integrate them directly online. Meaning you can get every product directly here, adding directly to your purchase request, and you can also navigate with what we call the punch-out catalogs. The punch-out catalog meaning that you can directly look for your product directly on the supplier catalogs online. So you just have to navigate on your supplier's catalogs, select the product you'd like to order, and once you selected it, you just have to import to your cart, and it goes directly in your purchase request. So then you get all your article. You can affect them your article to cost center, any kind of accountability code, depending how you manage that. This is specific to your organization, so we can really configure that like you need it. Here you can, for each transaction, add collaborators, and you can affect all your collaborator to, for example, I can set Anthony, and Anthony, I can give him access and permission to read and write to these orders. So this is how we manage also the collaboration for every kind of modules within Sourcing Force. You can add files directly on your orders. And of course, for each product, you can define all the article profile, meaning the referees. Here, for example, manufacturers, ERL, delivery dates, unit prices. You can also link any kind of product to your internal stock if you need to link that to your stock, and we use an API to do that. So it's every time on the correct referees. And once it's done, you just have to go to the next steps. You can here add as many fields as you need for your internal request, and then you submit to validations. And when it goes to the validations, all your validators are receiving emails, so they can directly validate online any kind of purchase order. So here, for example, once you get all your orders created, you get all your status, ordered, accepted, any kind of refuse, etc. So it's very easy to use, and every employee can know exactly where are their orders. For example, when I click to that kind of orders, I can see what is already ordered. I can see if it's accepted by my suppliers or not, so I can get the delivery date, upload new documents, and then you get all reporting about that. So this is really the simple view regarding your colleagues that need to make an order. And here you have also several modules that are only for administrators. Then you can list all roles within your company and make sure that you get all the permission for each roles. Meaning that here, for example, for each modules, you can create permissions for each individuals within your company. So as you can see, you can configure everything within the source to pay solutions. And for each individual, you can get, okay, for you, I agree that you can export your item lines. For you, you can delete collaborators, you can refuse item lines. And for each module, as you can see, you can configure everything, every permission. And quite everything within the solution is configurable. So you can get all the list of your organizations. You can get all your agencies here and configure all your agencies, list of your users. And with your users, so you can configure each user for a specific roles. So meaning, for example, on that one, this one is related to these agencies, but you can add more agencies and a specific role, meaning that you can get one which is buyer, another one which is commercial assistant, etc. And everyone will get their own permissions to use Sourcing Force. Then here you can manage all your catalogs. For example, here are the two hosted catalogs that I showed you just previously, and you can manage them to make sure that, okay, this catalog is only for a specific role. So you can get, okay, only buyers, for example, could see these catalogs. You can enable it or not. You can also set up all your workflow of validations. And this is very complete because when you start to configure a validation workflow, you can set which agencies will be impacted. You can get the descriptions, the kind of transactions. Actually, you have only the purchase request, but you can add any kind of transactions, your internal reference. And then you can get all your conditions for this validation workflow, stating, okay, I'd like to take the initial amount, the ventilation code, which means the cost center, make, okay, the maximum and minimum amount. And then you can add any step of validations. So make sure that if you need to get many people within your organization that need to validate an order, you can simply just very easily say, configure that the first one will be Philips, the second one you need 2 validators, for example. So you just have to select someone within your organization, Anna, for example, another one, which is Anthony, and then a third one if you need, and you can add any steps as you need to configure your validation workflow. So it's very easy, you see, that to configure. It takes a bit of time at the beginning because we need to collect everything, every information, but you can do that by yourself in a very easy way. And then you get here, last thing, all your database, which generally is connected to your ERP. We use many API to do that. So you get all your cost center, and we can do any kind of budget control, business numbers, etc., directly related to your own applications. So this is very, I don't want to give you a very strong demonstration. So this is an overview of only the procurement modules. On the next webinar, we'll show you all the modules regarding all the what we call the strategic sourcing modules. For example, contract management, purchasing performance, tendering systems, etc. So now, if you want, you can maybe activate your microphone or write on the message, so we can reply to your questions. Do you have any questions that you'd like to go with us?
Hello, Olivier. Yes, it's Tony. Are you online? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tony, no problem.
I was just trying to figure out if when you call catalogs, are you also referring to eProcurement cards, or is something that has to be handled in a different way?
We might be able to integrate eProcurement card, but it's not only related to eProcurement. Actually, catalog is mostly to integrate hosted or punch out catalogs either you get a P card or not.
Oh.
The P card is only a choice of payment, but not linked to the catalogs, because you also could be able to integrate a P card to buy services, for example. If you need to pay a consultant with a P card, you'll be able to pay through Sourcing Force using a P card. Catalogs is really to how I can manage my suppliers' catalogs and make sure that my employees are directly linked to those catalogs.
Yeah, okay. If you don't mind, I will just ask you the last question, but because I don't want to monopolize the panel. To my kind of understanding, after 15 years of experience in sales, logistics, and procurement, I've been noticing that I did share most of the times with multinational companies more or less the same starting huge, big, let's say, hindrance. So how to retrieve, how to qualify, how to assess data, because most of the times the data that these companies have are mostly financial centric, not mostly meant to be used by procurement people. And
yeah, you're right.
Times we have to, as a, let's say, procurement manager or procurement team leaders, we have so many big difficulties. How did you tackle this issue?
Yeah, actually, what we do, I totally agree with you. We get the same issues when I worked in some other companies. We can't use effectively your financial data because your financial data use cost center, and cost center are not linked to your purchasing categories.
Exactly.
So what we do, we've developed a module really linked to category management. So you can either link each of your transactions to a category, a purchasing category, or you can link your supplier. So every of your supplier are linked to a purchasing category. So meaning that when you do an extract or when you work the data, you work on your own purchasing categories, and all your buying team are able to make their analysis based on their own categories, private categories. By default, we propose what we call the E-class. I don't know if you know E-class content. It's very linked to the UNSP, very relatively the same. And you can also import your own, maybe I can show you the E-class content so you can
Thank you.
get it. E-class, it's in English, yeah, correct. Right. So E-class, I don't know, do you know UNSPSC code?
Nope.
Okay, UNSPSC code is relatively the same. It's meaning this is an international standard to categorize every kind of spend. So it's very useful for your procurement team because, as you can see, you have a first level here of categories, and then you can go through, I can see, for example, office products, which is a simple one. Then you get a second level of categories. You can click on office.
You're talking about ENZI. ENZI.
It's similar to
yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, okay,
very similar. So by default, we integrated all the E-class categories within Sourcing Force. So you can use it, or you can use also your own private categories, because most of our clients created their own purchasing categories.
Yeah.
And so then you can link all your suppliers. You see here, for example, you get the business directories. And all the suppliers within your business directories, you can link them to your private categories. So then you can really easily use your Sourcing Force to get any kind of extract, not based on financial data, but based on your procurement policies.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any other questions? Do not hesitate. Ariane or Lawrence, do you have any questions? Right, so if enough question, what we could do is that we can discuss after this webinar. Of course, we'll send you a replay of this webinar. We'll share you a video of this webinar so you can go through any details. And do not hesitate to contact us if you have any other questions, if you need more demonstrations to make sure that you understand how it works. It's really linked to a full source-to-pay solution. So today, we show you how we can implement a procure-to-pay solutions and how it works briefly with these demonstrations. But we also provide many modules regarding strategic sourcing. So I will show you that in the next webinar. So okay. If you do not have any other questions, thank you very much. Maybe Ben, if you need to add something.
It's pretty much the same. Thanks everyone for joining us today. If you do have additional questions, please email them directly at bconstanti@sourcing-force.com. I put it in the chat. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Oliver, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you for your time.
Right.
And
thank you very much. Have a good day and speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.